So I know this is technically a day late, I'm a little late getting to this information, but I literally stayed up till 3 a.m. because usually FGO drops the new information at like 2 a.m. for me, and I was like, you know what, let me give it like an extra hour, see if maybe they're just a little bit late on this one, and I was like, nope, alright, I guess they're not going to be dropping a new event this week, that's really strange. And then I wake up and they're like, boom, Morgan Lotto event is coming out and here's the pre-release campaign. So I'm like, thanks FGO, thanks for being like, all right, is ZTL asleep? All right, now we drop the next event that is coming. But I'm calling it the Morgan Lotto for a good reason, because they're bringing Morgan back, and we'll talk about that in just a second. We're going to go over all the details of this one. There's also some interesting information as far as like the prerequisites for the event are concerned, right? There's separate prerequisites or like different parts of the story for like playing the event and doing the main quest, which I think is really interesting. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content. If you want to see me play FGO live, I do that every weekday over on my Twitch at about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Although I believe I missed yesterday's stream because I had a friend that's going on a trip and I won't be seeing them for like a week or so, and I took some time to kind of go hang out with them. So every now and then I'll miss a day because of stuff like that, but it's usually not that common. But with all that being said, let's actually talk about what's going down here. Now, the pre-release campaign's not like super insane or anything. This is really nice if you've followed the last video I did where I was like, oh, now is a really good time to hop into JP. This is also a really good reason to hop into JP. Yeah, technically, as we'll talk about, you do need to clear Lost Belt 6, which is going to be really hard for a new player to do, but if you're able to kind of like really just put the pedal to the metal and grind it out to get through the entirety of, Lost Belt 6, you have like all of these golden apples that they're going to be giving you that are going to be really nice when it comes to actually farming the lotto for this event. They're also giving you like a couple limited time missions. Not a super big deal. I mean, 3 million QP is nice, but it's really not anything insane. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh my goodness, 3 million QP. Like, I don't think anybody's really going to be like cooming over 3 mil, but hey, it's nice. What people are going to be cooming over is Morgan coming back for like the 4th time, and I'm maybe saying that as an exaggeration, but no, actually this is her 4th time having a raid up, right? She had one for her initial release, and then she had one a month after that, and then since then she's had 2 other separate raid ups on top of being a part of 3 GSSRs, and I believe this one, it's what, her, Musashi, and Arjuna Alter, like it was an insane like GSSR if you chose to do it. And I get it, she's like this incredibly popular servant, right? I mean, like, if you had to just tell me to pick one Fate wifey, I would take Morgan hands down, with Jalter being a very close second. But it's like, I get all that, but I'm like, this is ridiculous, bro. They are just spamming this servant, and I know that we're supposed to get the Lost Belt 6 part of the road to Lost Belt 7 probably within this month is kind of when we're pegging it to kind of drop on the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her back again, because Morgan is that popular that I think they could just keep spamming this servant and people are still going to summon for her, because she's not only, again, incredibly popular, but she's really good. Like, she's pretty much good for everything. Like, you can use her for buster farming, you can use her for boss fights, she's good in sustain team comps, right? With like Merlin and Castoria, you could pretty much make an immortal team. Like, she's just generally good everywhere, and like her kit is just pretty well rounded, right? Her only fault, I guess you could say, is that she's a berserker, so she can kind of die a little easily, but that also means that she obliterates enemies really easily, so it's kind of like the give and take with Morgan. But regardless, if you're playing JP, she's absolutely worth summoning for. Like, you will get your quartz worth out of using this servant. Also, it brings along this CE. This CE actually used in some of the advanced quest show setups that I was using, because it's just pretty nice. Perma ignore invincibility is really nice, and then the extra NP generation and the NP damage is also just generally applicable. Like, you could pretty much slap this on any servant, and I'm a firm believer that every account really needs to get their hands on at least one CE that gives them like guaranteed pierce defense, guaranteed sure hit for the fight, or guaranteed pierce invincibility, because they're just really nice for helping you like make a lot of more difficult fights where, like, say a boss has like William Tell, where he's like, yeah, he has like 30 hits of like maybe he'll dodge, maybe he won't. You just slap on like a sure hit or pierce invincibility CE, and you absolutely trivialize like one of the main mechanics of the boss. So this is actually a really, really good banner to go ahead and summon on. I mean, this is also just not a bad CE to slap on your Morgan, because that's like one of the few things she doesn't have is pierce invincibility. And the extra NP damage, I believe she doesn't even have an NP damage buff anywhere, but you know, she's pretty much focusing on like doing attack buff, special damage mod, and then lowering the enemy's defense over here, right? Like, so she doesn't have any NP damage, doesn't have any, you know, pierce invincibility, so it actually gives her two things that she actually really wants, and she's not going to complain about the NP gain. But let's talk about the actual event that's coming down as well, because we actually know the participation requirements here are that you need to clear Lost Belt 6 to do the main quests, but then Fuyuki to access the other quests. So what I'm assuming this means, right, is that like where it says, you know, in order to access the main quest of the event, you need to clear the Avalon, but if you're just a normal player and you haven't gotten this far, you can at least do the Lotto, right? So I'm assuming that's how that's going to function. I'm assuming that if you want to actually like read the story and everything, you need to like put the pedal to the metal and like, you know, finish Lost Belt 6. But if you just want to farm some Lotto, you should be able to do that as long as you finish the tutorial, which is kind of nice because I know a lot of people as of late have been complaining that it seems like Lisengel is making a lot of the more recent events, you know, tied to like finishing a lot of the Lost Belt chapters, right? And they're complaining that it's really hard to jump into the game because, you know, if it's like, you need to clear Lost Belt 4 in the next week to start playing this event, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do that. So I kind of like this split, and I hope they start doing this going forward, because if you're a newer player, you can just jump into the event and reap all the rewards, because that is kind of a struggle that newer players have, right? Is getting a hold of some of the more high-end materials, right? That you get in like the Lost Belts, right? Because let's say you pull someone like Morgan, right? And you like then look at her materials, and I mean, you don't really get eggs until you start going to like Lost Belt 4, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you could get her pretty easily to like 3rd Ascension, and maybe with some pure prisms you could get some eggs and such like that, but it can definitely be a bit of a struggle, right? So I kind of like that they're maybe gearing towards doing this, making it to where like, well, as long as you finished that part of the story, you can enjoy this new story. But if you haven't and you're a newer player, we're not going to punish you for just starting the game, right? So we're going to make it easily accessible. I hope this is something that actually carries over into other future events, because I know we should be getting Christmas, well, within the next month, like when December, right? Because go figure, December Christmas event, right? Although we just got a Christmas rerun on NA like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, bro, we have Christmas in October. What are we doing right now? This feels so wrong. But yeah, if you're one of those people that is now like starting the event, not starting the event, but starting a new account on JP, this is definitely something to look forward to, because Lottos can definitely help kickstart an account, right? Because you just get so much good stuff. You get so many materials. Depending on what kind of Lotto it is, you're either getting pieces and monuments, or you're getting like all of the saber cookies and the gems, and that's obviously very helpful. Experience cards and QP are obviously absolutely killer for a new account. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Are you going to be summoning for Morgan as an NA player? Is this something that you're like, oh, this is going to be really cool? I, for one, am really looking forward to this because, dude, it's like Morgan Lotto event. Like, how could I not be excited for that? Like, I'm super gassed up for that. But, you know, I'll have to wait for people to actually translate the event. I mean, I'll try to figure out what's going on by, like, the little servant expressions. I'm going like, huh? What? Like all that stuff. Like, I'll try to figure out what they're talking about, but until they translate it, you know, I'm gonna be in the dark like everybody else. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.